Welcome to Geeks Corner. I'm Mr. DAPs.
I'm Caitie.
And we are happy that you're here tonight because there is a ton to geek out about, whether it's in the parks, Disney Plus, other parks, all sorts of stuff. It's going to be
the world
of Walt Disney. Is that what you mean?
No, I meant the world.
Oh, okay. All of the world. We're going to geek out about all of
the world.
And if they'd like to geek out too, what should they do?
Should go to twitter.com, use the hashtag Geeks Corner, or I'm giving them options. Or
I'm just listening.
Go to geekscorner.live. And from there, you should see our video. You should also see a cute little YouTube chat, a little tip type, and give us your opinions, and we can see them right in front of us.
Right in front of us.
It's lovely.
It is very fun. And before we get into everything, I think we're going to geek out first about a train in Anacortes, Washington.
About the world.
That needs some love. Yeah, we are going around the world. And Anacortes, Washington is a place that I grew up boating with my grandparents and saw this train. And so I did a write-up on it. And basically, this train needs to go home to its parents or to its family. And so take a look at that. If it's something that you find interesting, please share it and try to get it some attention, because this is just one of those cases where the more I look at it, I'm like, I want to help these people out and use our platform for good and try to
for trains.
Well, and for trains, like it's trains, it's Anacortes, which is one of my favorite places, and it's helping good people like mourn their dad. So I think it's worth checking out. We'll have that in the show notes. So if you haven't read it yet, please do, and we'd love if you'd share it also. Just to support the Thompson family, and that would be great. All right, we have a ton to cover in this week's show, so let's get right into the Week of Geek, which means that this last week, it's hard to believe it's within the last week.
It's
so
insane.
Much has happened, but Disneyland announced its intent to expand. It's different than they've done in the past, where they're like, hey, we are doing this specific thing. And really, when you think about it, the only specific thing in their intent to expand was a parking lot they've already announced that they hope to do. But it sounds like they're hoping, in this case, to work with the local businesses and government to make it more acceptable or whatever.
Definitely.
But all of this comes after the parks and basically the economy in Anaheim has been closed for about a year. And they're hoping that this can be something that will spur on the economy in future years and give, I think it's just giving it a shot in the arm of excitement, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
What did you think about all of this and whatever you read about this expansion?
Whatever I read about this expansion?
Yeah, read, wrote, all.
Yeah. We did a lot of writing this last week. I think it's a great move. I think it's going to create a lot of jobs between Imagineering, between retail cast members, between all the people it is going to take to create something like this. If the city of Anaheim accepts the proposal. I think the city of Anaheim is going to accept the proposal, maybe tweak a few things.
I don't think there's a proposal yet, but yes.
But
yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that when there is a proposal, they will accept it. I think the most important thing to understand, though, is that one, this isn't a third gate. And two, this isn't Disneyland is breaking ground on an expansion next year. Disneyland has a lot of great ideas that they want to see come true, but they have to build a partnership with the city of Anaheim. So I think it's exciting if it comes true.
And it's a negotiation.
Definitely.
So I think you're kind of hitting on that of this is the grand scheme of like, hey, we could do all of these things. And my hunch is there's already some behind the scenes talking that's happened, which is why they had the article go out from OC Register with like local city officials showing some openness to it already. But I'm betting they've actually done more than we realize. But it's all about, here's the full thing. What parts are people going to be okay with? What parts are people not going to be okay with? What are they going to be excited about? I mean, I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that there's people that are like, hey, this is great. We don't want you to expand the parks. We want a third park.
Definitely.
Or maybe the city of Anaheim is going to be like, hey, that Toy Story lot, not going to work. You can't do that there. Maybe they want, like, I could see things moving around and trying new things. I do think there's some big picture ideas of how it could possibly work. Cause you notice, like I noticed anywhere there seems to be houses on the other side of a theme park, there was a convenient mountain, which I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like it worked pretty well with Cars Land. And it'll be interesting to see what people get excited about, and leaders in Anaheim, leaders love, don't love parking, all of that fun stuff, and how Disneyland recovers as it reopens at the end of the month. Like that's going to be, I think, a part of this as well. And I think it's smart of them to unveil this before it happens, because I think it'll add to momentum. So what is the one thing on all of the maps, or whatever you want to call it, concept arts, that you would really love to see happen?
Black Panther.
Okay.
If you, there's one of the maps, the map that shows Downtown Disney, and all the things are blobs. If you understand what I'm saying, good on you, because I'm making no sense.
Oh, I know totally what you're talking about.
Yes. But if you zoom in really close, it looks like one land, there's a Pandora type land, but like really, really tiny in there is a Black Panther land. Which
both things I'd be totally cool with. Like, I think that'd be great. And it makes a lot of sense if you were to actually add in the second phase of Avengers Campus. You're supposed to go to Wakanda on the Quinjet.
Mm-hmm.
So if that happened to be somewhere at the park that, you didn't quite make it in the ride, but you can just walk over there. Like, it'll be fine.
I think it'd be really neat.
I think that would be a great thing as well. I don't think we're going to know anything about anything for a very long time.
Agreed.
And I think that'll be interesting too, because you're going to see, like, we're going to see new movies and new IPs that get bigger and other ones that don't. Mm-hmm. And that could impact the future as well. And, for all we know, I don't think they would expand Galaxy's Edge even more, but you could see, like, there is where it's potentially the Disneyland expansion. You could just add more Galaxy's Edge. I don't know what you would do, but there's that possibility. It's like, we didn't give you Tatooine before, but now you can cross the river or cross the street. And
there's Tatooine.
Okay. Bailey says she wants something that is distinct to Disneyland, a la Cars Land. And that doesn't get replicated somewhere else around the globe, I'm assuming you're saying. But yes. It'll be very interesting to see how this progresses, how slowly it progresses, because I don't think it's going to be one of those things where in the next 6 months we're like, hey, now they're doing this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's years before we see things break ground.
Definitely.
And that'll be interesting to see. And it's also interesting, like, Ken Potrock's the Disneyland president now. Like, will he be the one that just basically sets the table and somebody else comes in and actually builds this thing? Like, who knows? And that'll be a very interesting thing to watch happen as well.
Do you think it will happen under Bob Chapek, though?
Oh, I think this is part of his legacy. And I think it's something that he wants, and I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Definitely.
And that'll be contingent on how the rest of the company is doing as well. 5 to 10 years, I think, is very reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's a fair.
I mean, just looking at how long it took to build Disney California Adventure, once things really get going, then I think it'll move a whole lot faster. I mean, kind of like what we saw for Galaxy's Edge, but what was that, 2 years, 3 years?
Well, I'm thinking even DCA 2.0. That was 2.5 years.
But I think that's going to be harder than adding, like, a parking lot. You've got a clean slate.
Yeah.
So you're not having people walk around. So you're not having to deal with an active park every day. So I think in some ways this will be easier, but in other ways, because there's going to be so much more, it'll be the other way. So I don't know if that's...
Who's to say?
That's, it's apples and oranges.
In time for the 75th. I would hope.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, I think that could be a good ballpark guess. And I think you could see if the parking lot thing happens, I think that could happen way quicker.
Yeah.
Because you do that first before you get rid of other parking lots. And so that could be in the next 2 years.
True.
But,
and Disneyland always needs more parking.
Yeah. And that'll depend on how the reopening of Disneyland goes as well. Just because if parking isn't included in any levels of pass and it's $25 per visit, that might change the parking flow dramatically.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like, I know we're not driving alone at that point. Like,
That's accurate.
It's me like, all right, everybody meet at somebody's house, and we're all cramming into probably your car because mine's small. And
I drive a mom car.
Or at that point, it's like, hey, anybody want to get a minivan? Because we could put 8 people in then. And,
do we know any soccer moms?
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like an SUV.
We're going to create a soccer team.
There you go. Or a hockey team, which we aren't talking about tonight. But I did watch the Mighty Ducks. What is it? What's the title?
I don't know what the title is. I know it's isn't it like Reloaded or something? No, it's not Reloaded. I'm just making
I watched the new Mighty Ducks show on Disney Plus over the weekend, and I was completely charmed by it. I almost wrote a review, in which case you'd probably be talking about it tonight, but they really did a nice job with the feel, and the characters are believable, and it's not just a cool kids show. It's like, this is what the Mighty Ducks should be. And I think they did a really good job revisiting it. All right. We learned today that Los Angeles and Orange County is moving into the orange tier, which basically very over-shortening what that means is more capacity. Mm-hmm. You can eat more places. Mm-hmm. You still have to be from California to go to Disneyland.
Correct.
And so what potentially could end up happening is you could see capacity ramped up to 25% when Disneyland is reopening. According to the state, who knows what Disney's actually going to do? They haven't said that. I don't know if they'll actually tell us what the capacity is going to be.
I don't think so.
Because I think that would add stress.
They also could go happy medium and do 20%.
Yeah. I mean,
like, who's to say?
Mm-hmm. But I think it'll be interesting because I think there's one set of rules that are the official ones, and then Disney's going to probably dial in what they do as well. What did you think about Orange Tier and how things might change because of that?
I think it's exciting. I also think potentially we might see some rule changes because in Orange Tier, if I read the blueprint for Safer Economy for California correctly, bars are now going to be able to be open. And right now the rule is that food has to be purchased with alcoholic beverages. Mm-hmm. So that potentially may change. But who knows? I think that it's just going to be a good move. I'm just happy to see us going in the right direction, to be completely honest, because we spent a lot of time in purple, both us and Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So it's very encouraging that we're both moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Disney already had this built into their plan for reopening, or if it's like I think once we're past this, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a quarterly report or call or something where Bob Chapek's like, we opened Disneyland at 15%, and then a month later we bumped to 20 or whatever it is. Yeah. Like, I could see him doing like they did for Walt Disney World, and that would be very interesting to see. Mainly just from this is going to be a very unique Disneyland experience. It doesn't have the space that Walt Disney World has. So the physical distancing thing is going to be a lot harder.
Yeah.
As we're already seeing at Disney California Adventure for different days at a touch of Disney. Like right now, if you go to Cars Land at dusk, if you're not comfortable being around people, there's probably it's uncomfortable. Yeah. I think I could probably do it just fine, but
I can't.
I don't know. Katie would probably not be comfortable. And but there's other areas that were completely open, like we saw. And when we went to Cars Land, it wasn't that busy because I don't think people had realized.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they're doing the thing. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out, how insane the ticket process is. Or will it not be insane because it's so limited? Like, if maybe it's going to be one of those things where the first week or two it's insane, and then it's like, I can't pay for parking anymore, or I can't pay for these tickets. Like, we've had these conversations around us pretty frequently. And if you're now spending, instead of whatever you paid before per month for your annual pass, and it's now $175 to $220 or whatever it's going to be, to get into a park that you have to have reservations for, that you now have to pay an extra $25 for parking for. So now you're at what, $250 just before to get into the gate.
Yeah.
And then you got food, and then you got whatever, souvenirs, all of that jazz. And so where we thought Disneyland was expensive before, we could be entering a world where it's even more expensive.
It's more of a luxury.
Well, and I always thought it was, but it could be very interesting to see how that impacts not only the guest traffic, they might overdo it, who knows, but also just the public perception of Disneyland if it goes too far. And I don't really know. It just all these question marks that we're going to have answered in the next 2 or 3 weeks when we find out. Like, I'm going to guess within the next 2 weeks or so, we're going to find out ticket prices, how to reserve, purchase and reserve tickets and all of that stuff.
Definitely.
And that'll be interesting as well. The other thing that came out today, you had so much fun writing everything.
I wrote a lot of things today.
What else did you write today?
So also, Universal Studios Hollywood is going to be reopening on April 16th. They're going to be having an annual pass and season pass preview on the 15th, with bonus park days going until May 16th. So if you had an annual or season pass to Universal Studios.
What is a bonus park day?
If you had a annual or seasonal pass to Universal Studios Hollywood, technically the reservations you make before May 17th are not going to count against your annual pass. Your annual pass will not start burning days again until May 17th.
But not if you buy a new one.
I do still think if you buy a new one.
Oh, okay.
Because they're saying that they're not going to start counting annual passes until May 17th. So your reservations are basically free.
For the first month.
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
And they're also, what I think is fascinating, and it is a total move of something that Disney is not doing. They had an attraction that was supposed to open last year, The Secret Life of Pets Off the Leash. That is opening with the park on April 16th. And also, Jurassic World The Ride closed last year. They added Indominus Rex to the finale because
why not?
It didn't have a grand finale.
Oh, okay.
Officially, I think it's very funny. So that was supposed to open summer of 2020. Obviously, it didn't. They're opening Jurassic World The Ride in its full glory on April 16th. So I think that most fans of Universal Parks are very excited, especially because Secret Life of Pets is supposed to be really good.
I just want to do Jurassic World.
Same, because I haven't done it.
Disneyland is opening the Snow White upgrade.
True.
Like, it's not Avengers Campus, but...
Well, Avengers Campus and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure have both been... And I understand that I think that Disney wants their guests to have a more full, true opening day experience that you can't do with limited capacity or what have you. And I think Universal is just like, come hang out with us!
Well, and that's what they've been in Florida, too.
Yeah.
It's been a very different experience looking at what they do for Universal versus Disney. Like, they're approaching it from different aspects,
and that's the fun of theme parks.
Yeah, it is, and that makes it more interesting to me, because if they all did the exact same thing, it'd be kind of like, okay, you guys got in a room and you came up with a plan for all of you, or like, I don't know, I don't think that'd be fun. That'll be interesting. We got Knott's opening sometime in May, which will also be interesting. To see how they play that out. I'm actually less worried about Knott's and Universal. Like, Disneyland is going to be the big question mark.
Definitely.
And then the other, it'll just be very interesting to see how each one of these open safely and smoothly as you can hope they can. And will that change parking at Downtown Disney? Because I think the answer is yes. If it's $25 to park for a park and $10 to park all day at Downtown Disney, that's going away.
Definitely.
So go to Downtown Disney now, because you're not going to get that $10 parking
Enjoy it while
soon.
you can.
Exactly. And there's some hotels around the area that are offering $10 and $15 parking as well on the harbor side. That's a good idea. Hopping on over to Florida, Walt Disney World unveiled today or released today an update for the My Disney experience for all of the what is it called? The Disney MagicMobile.
MagicMobile.
But it's only for Apple devices. And so you can now go to the Disney MagicMobile thing and
go to the My Disney Experience app.
And you can click on it and you can see your ticket. And that is my ticket for...
His is Epcot.
Yes. But you can unlock your resort hotel door. You can do basically anything that you could do with a Magic Band.
But most excitingly, you can take that bad boy, hit add to wallet, open your wallet on your watch, and your barcode will now be on your Apple Watch.
So cool.
You will also be able to, a feature of staying in a hotel, which I have found to be lovely, is when you have your Magic Band on, you can hook it to your debit card. And then you do that, you hit a pin. You don't have to take your debit card out the whole trip. It's wonderful. You will also be able to do that through MagicMobile on your Apple Watch now.
Which means it's going straight to your debit instead of your account at the hotel too, which I like better, especially when you're with groups and you don't have to have like at the end of the trip, all right, you have this much and you have that much. Yeah. And like, that's just a headache and a half. So I think this is going to be one of the coolest things. And ever since they introduced the Magic Bands, is like, well, I just want to use my watch.
Exactly.
So I think that's going to be super cool. From what I understand reading today, worked very well at Main Gate, and some of the other things they're still working out the kinks, which it's the first day. What do you expect? I think that's going to be, it's MagicMobile, like the Batmobile.
Precisely.
I think they're going to be bringing it to more platforms in the near future. And I think Apple's just probably the one that they approached first. But yeah, I want to try it. I think it'll be great. And it'll be a fun, like, I just think it makes life so much easier. And really, I don't like wearing my Apple Watch and then the Magic Band, because you're already sweating enough in Florida. It's like, you don't need more plastic around your hands. And
I mean, the only bummer to me is that I do love my Spaceship Earth Magic Band.
You can still use it.
I know, but I don't like the way that it feels. Like, I don't like the way Magic Bands feel. They make me uncomfortable because I have a weird thing about things. I don't like the way the plastic feels on me. So I'm going to be bummed of it as a fashion accessory. Also, I have my 35th anniversary Epcot Magic Band that sings when I touch it at touch points at Epcot. So
I'm sure they will come up with options, though,
based on what like face you have on your
or maybe even they could add they could gamify it too, where, like, you know how in Galaxy's Edge you can do the little games. Like, if they were to connect all those and you could get, like, you could earn different entrance sounds.
That'd be fun.
And people would go for that. Like, I
would.
Like, but you could do, I mean, Disney's Hollywood Studios is the one that makes the most sense to me right off the top of my head, because, like, you can do Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. You could do Toy Story stuff. You could do droids. You could do Tower of Terror. Like, there's lots of things there. I think Epcot would be a lot. We really could take different approaches for each one. Like, there's games that you could do in each park, and that would be super cool, I think. And just build on the excitement of getting to keep it simple and all on my watch or all on my phone. As long as your phone doesn't die, you're good to go.
It's minor detail.
And then you go into that whole what is it called, the little charger?
No, what are they called? I can picture the thing in my head, the ones that you can swap out. And
I'm not using it anymore because I went through the whole process and they never responded, so I just was not impressed.
Fuel rod. There we go. And I just realized it was a whole lot cheaper to buy a $30, maybe it was even cheaper, portable charger on Amazon, and then just charge it at home. And it lasts a lot longer, and it charges my phone more times, and what have you.
Yep. And it also charges the GoPro, which is good as well. All right. Finally, this week, today, we got our next glimpse at what is coming to Star Wars next on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. What day of the week is that?
Oh, that's a great question. What day of the week is May the 4th?
Because I know there's the 70-minute premiere, and then is it a Tuesday?
It's a Tuesday.
Okay, so we might have to, like, actually watch this before the show and then review it after. But we got a trailer for Star Wars The Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by it, for one. Mainly because, well, there's several reasons. First off, it's the timeline.
Yes.
Like, where it's at in the timeline of Star Wars. We know somewhere around here, and this is just me theorizing a little bit, and I haven't read enough to be educated on this. At some point, things switch for the Empire from clones to stormtroopers. So now we have this Bad Batch that's genetically enhanced clones that didn't work perfectly or whatever. And things don't seem to be going so well for them, and the war is over, and you've got all of this stuff happening. Is this where you start seeing the transition of like, oh, clones don't work for us anymore, we have to switch to troopers? And so I'm curious if this is actually an origin story for the stormtrooper at large. I don't know that it is. I'm just curious. But that's kind of like, I keep thinking of like, how does this fit into the bigger Star Wars story? Because that's one thing Dave Filoni has done since day one of the Clone Wars, is like everything fits into a bigger story and a bigger universe and a bigger history. And so I'm curious about that. The other thing I'm really curious about that we were talking about before is Fennec. Because I was like, that sounds like Ming-Na Wen. And it turns
you were
out
correct.
It is. And that is interesting because this is what, 30 years before?
Yes. Yes.
I think it's 20 or 30 years before Mandalorian.
Yeah, that'd be correct.
But now we have all of these connections happening everywhere. And so I'm really intrigued where this show is going to go and what is its purpose in the Star Wars storytelling. And even weirder, will it be connected somehow to the High Republic? Which I've been really enjoying reading. What did you think?
I think it looks like a lot of fun. And this is coming from somebody who did not watch the Clone Wars, has not watched Star Wars Rebels. I feel like specifically Star Wars The Clone Wars is going to tie in a lot to this series. It seems
they came out of that.
Yeah. It's seeming like there's going to be a lot of tie-ins and it's going to build off the story that was in Star Wars The Clone Wars. So I should work on that.
And if you've watched actually the Clone Wars, encourage Caitie how to get through them, because the beginning is rough. And that's the same with most of the shows. Like Star Wars Rebels first season, I can totally remember us on DAPS Cast and Danny and I talking about how it's the show you have this love-hate relationship for, because there's parts that you're like, ooh, Star Wars, super good. And then it's like, what the heck are you doing over here? And
it's also very overwhelming to start a show that has 7 seasons.
Huh. Okay. That's fair.
Like, in my humble opinion, it's very overwhelming to watch a show that has a lot ahead of it, like in front of you when you're trying to start it.
Okay.
Especially when the beginning's not great. It's hard to. So if you watch Star Wars The Clone Wars, please tell me how to get through the beginning.
One day at a time.
I know.
And that's what I did is when I watched it, it was already 3 or 4 seasons in, and I just would do one a day because it's like 20 minutes. And so I was like, I can do 20 minutes. And there's seasons that I absolutely love and storylines I absolutely love, and other ones where I'm like, okay, that was fun. Not really. But then in the grander context, it added so much depth to the prequels. It's added so much depth now to what we're seeing with other things. And that will be interesting to see. And then, like, is there going to be some lead up that's connecting to Solo? Is there going to be some lead up that's connecting to Andor? Like, there's so many different stories being told right now. It'll be really, Clocky says to watch episodes till you see a good one and leave on a high note.
That's fair.
That is a good way to do it. But it'll be really interesting to see like where the connection points happen, and is for as much griping as we hear about what's going on in the world of Star Wars, it's like everything's going on in the world of Star Wars. That's why it's so good right now. And you know, if you may not like this part, you're gonna like that part. And it's very much a Walt Disney approach of let's tell good stories. And I think the thing to remember is sometimes one person's definition of a good story is different than another person's.
I agree.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Oh, Star Wars is very much so. It is interesting. I'm forgetting his first name. I think his last name is Klein, though. Kine. He wrote the music for Clone Wars and I think Rebels, and he has now written more Star Wars music than any other man alive, including John Williams.
Huh.
Yeah, kind of blew my mind.
I
should really have verified that before I said it on the YouTube.
Well, it's law now.
But you know, it's on the internet now.
Even if it's not true, it is true now.
Anyway, we are running out of time, Caitie. What should people do?
Shoot at appsmagic.com. Check out all the Disney and geek news as it happens, when Disneyland announces news about the reopening and how you can get tickets,
we'll be
we
there.
will have it. So be sure to subscribe to our mailing list so you don't miss any of it.
That is true. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because we've got lots of stuff that continue to go up on almost a daily basis. Well, there's something going up every day. We know that for sure. And then we've got some other special things coming as well. But that is all the time that we have for you this week. So we will see you around the corner.
Bye.